I want to start off with a little story. Do indulge me here. When I was young, I would visit my grandparents, and they had Sky, and I didn't, so I was able to have all the cartoons in the world at my fingertips. And the one that really stuck at me was a show called Avatar: The Last Airbender. Some of you have heard of this. For those who haven't, it's basically a show about 4 nations split up into different elements: earth, water, air, and fire. And the air element particularly struck me because they were clearly Buddhists. They were bald, they wore orange robes, and they were just so peaceful and calm, but they were also extremely playful, and they were so happy. But what I've realised the most is they were a real community. And I didn't realise until writing this talk that that's why I loved them so much. So to start my life, on a more sombre note, so when I was 5, my dad passed away. He had brain cancer. But so this was my first experience of death. But obviously I was 5, so I had no real understanding of what that meant. What I did realise was his loss left me with a sense of missing something. I was longing for something that I didn't actually know I was longing for. I had this hole within me. And this longing eventually led me to pursue dance. I started dance when I was 12, relatively late to start dance, to be a dancer anyway. But I quickly realised I was very good, and I wasn't a modest teenager, I promise you. I was very cocky, I have to say. And I joined every dance company I could possibly get my hands on. And by the age of 15, I was in several, and more importantly, I was part of 2 male dance companies. And I was a part of a GCSE class that had 10 boys. And that's absolutely miraculous, because there was never 10 before I started. And that I know of, there's never been 10 in a year group before, since then. So I count myself extremely lucky. And I was able to create these connections with men that I've always taken for granted in so many ways, because I've spoken to many people since then, and they just haven't had those opportunities to connect with other men. And I still cherish those moments to this day, and I still cherish all those people that I met, and I'm truly grateful, and I'm still in contact with many of them now. And this was my first sense of community outside of my family. And I've only, since writing this talk, realised how much community means to me. And I didn't realise when I became a dancer that community was what I wanted. I thought, really, when I was a teenager, it was because I was good and I could show off and there was lots of pretty girls. But that was basically it. But now I realise it was so much deeper than that. It was really connecting with people on a deeper level. However, when I was 16, it kind of started going downhill, in a sense. I lost my grandmother again to cancer. She had breast cancer, and she was one of the dearest people in my life. I spent much of my teenage years and childhood with her and my grandpa. And this was actually much harder than my dad's death, because I now had a concept of death. I knew what it was. So now I had to process both deaths at the same time, both my dad's and my grandma's. And all I ended up doing was just pushing these emotions down. I just disconnected myself from my feelings, and this phrase, toxic masculinity, is thrown around a lot these days, but it was so relevant for me in my life, and it ended up culminating in depression, and I had many tough thoughts, and I had thoughts of taking my own life, and it was really tough, but if it wasn't for my friends and family during that time, I don't know where I would be. I'm extremely grateful for everyone who, in a way, saved me. So yeah, I'm so thankful for them. And this disjointedness with my feelings continued on for many, many years, and even probably until about 2 years ago when I started opening up to what feelings were and who I was as a man. So this led me to going to dance school. I trained at a musical theatre school called Bird College, and for once, I wasn't the most talented person in the room. It was very humbling, But one person I met was an incredible dancer, incredible actress, an incredible singer. But the reason I was so drawn to her was not her talent, it was her compassion, it was her love and her warmth to other people. In our third year of university, we started dating, and as you can imagine, we fell hopelessly in love. We fell head over heels for each other. And disclaimer, I'm a hopeless romantic. I've watched countless romantic comedies in my time, probably because of my mum forcing me as a teenager. Thank you, Mum, I appreciate those. And I've realised that throughout my life, I've always searched for a community within a partner, because you get everything from a partner. You get so much love and attention and dedication. But as we all know, sometimes that isn't the best, because you become entangled and it becomes warped and all of your attention becomes one person. And it is an all-consuming love. You really are crazy in love. And about a year and a half into this relationship, I found Buddhism. I found the Dharma. It wasn't profound in any way. I was searching online for Tai Chi classes. Probably to do with the Avatar Last Airbender stuff. And then it kind of gone into Buddhism, and I got a book, and it was Buddhism for Dummies, another profound book reading. I do recommend it, though. It's really good. I learnt a lot about all of Buddhism, but I resonated with this book because straight away I was reading, and I was like, I am a Buddhist. I read this book, and I was like, this just makes sense. This is me in so many ways. And through a lot of meditation and practice and reflection, I finally came to terms with the deaths of my amazing grandma and father. And I don't take that lightly. I still hold them with me every day, but this sense of a hole with me is gone. It's been filled by something more. And I think it's meta, really. It's this sense of love has just filled me. And I'm so grateful for that. Then came along the big C bomb. I'm not sure if you heard about it, the COVID pandemic. And I ended up moving in with my partner, Anya, at the time, and her family. And I spent the entirety of all the lockdowns with her and her family. It was wonderful. We all got along. I was amazing friends with her father and her mother. And we ended up becoming engaged. And it was amazing, as you can imagine. But because I was so wrapped up in her, my practice fell away. This all-consuming love for one person just pushed all of my practice out the window, and I stopped meditating. And because I stopped meditating and I stopped reading Dharma books, I had this distorted view of what Buddhism was, and I used it in a way to kind of get out of doing things that I didn't want to do. Like, she would ask me, like, what do you want, like, with a house? I was like, Buddhists don't need big houses. Like, whatever you want, I'm happy with. So it was things like that. It's clearly such a distorted view of the world, which kind of, in a way, I think led to why she ended our engagement and our relationship, because I just didn't have a direction. I didn't know what I really wanted in life. And as you can imagine, this relationship just broke me. Like, I had everything in my life was her. That was it. I had no real other directions. I had no real career. I was constantly changing careers, trying to find the one that worked. And my world just fell apart, and I was broken, and I really felt like there was nothing left. However, the positive side of this, I realized the only way I could survive this was the Dharma. And I refound my love for my meditation practice. I started to devote myself to the Dharmic books, and I really, without being able to sit in my experience in meditation, I don't know, it was still incredibly painful. But if without meditation, I don't know what would have happened, really. And I was following the 5 precepts, so I couldn't drink or do drugs, and which is very normally the best way people deal with breakups, so I couldn't really divert down that road. So I was just very grateful to refine my meditation practice in so many ways, which eventually led me. I was one day scrolling through Instagram, as we all do, and this ad for the winter retreat popped up. I have to say that the LBC's marketing team are incredible. Like, the amount of people have said that something's just popped up online is just crazy. So I decided, I've never heard of True Ratner. I decided to give it a go, and I was like, I'm already a Buddhist. I've got this figured out. I know what I'm doing. And I turned up, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know the mindfulness of breathing. I didn't know the Metta Bhavana. But what I did know was I found a community. I found a genuine community that I've been searching for my entire life. And I think we've all seen that on this retreat. And this continued after I left the winter retreat. I live near Oxford, so it's about 2 hours to get to the LBC. So immediately, the second I could, I did that trip every week. I went to the LBC, I met these people again, and I deepened our connections, I deepened our friendships. And then when they asked me to become a Mitra in February, it was just 2 months, and I was like, yes. I mean, there's no reason not to do this. It just makes sense. Like, I want to be a part of this group. I want to deepen my connections with these people. And I can continue to find truer and deeper love within True Ratner community. And I just want to read this one line from this book I've been reading. The process of loving should always be a liberating process, not an entangling process. And I think that's what this is. We're liberating each other with love. And we've been doing that on this retreat every single day. And every day I find myself finding a deeper love and connection with every single one of you. Even if I haven't had a full-on conversation with you, just connecting with you with the eyes, as we've realised, is just so beautiful. And that's why I'm a Buddhist. So thank you.